All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to CDBG Office Hours. I'm Mike Phillips, Federal Program Specialist. Also on the webinar, we have Felicity Gosser, Federal Program Specialist, and Mamie Early, our CDBG Section Chief. From our ICF team, we have Lexi Baru, Ann Schmidt, Lauren Pollock, and Leslie Leager. And today we also have a special guest, Mike Molina, the Fire Chief from the City of Firebaugh. He's going to do a presentation on their recently constructed fire station. And if you are unfamiliar with Zoom, here's how you can ask a question to our team. You can click the Q&A chat bubble in your user dashboard. You can ask questions anonymously, but we do ask that you leave your name, organization, or the region you're associated with. That just better helps us track follow-up, keep questions grouped together, and we will read questions out loud throughout the presentation and provide answers if possible. And all questions will be saved and recorded as part of the public record. Okay, with that, let's get to our CDBG program updates. I'll pass it off to Mimi.
Thank you, Michael, and good morning, everyone. Just to provide you with the CDBG program updates for our 2022 CDBG NOFA, we had a total of 42 recommended for award. 1 is still awaiting corrections. 6 are pending final approval. 11 are currently routing, and we have approved 24. For our 2023 CDBG NOFA, we are still projected to drop it September of 2023, this month. That is for the over-the-counter OTC waitlist only, and that's going to be approximately about 9 million of awards. For the 2024 CDBG NOFA, we are still projected to drop that NOFA in January of 2024. That will be for our competitive and over-the-counter projects and programs, and that's approximately 48 million.
Oh, and maybe it's 19 million is the approximate. You said 9 million. Just want to make sure people
19 million, sorry, for 2023, and then for 2024 it's 48 million.
Thank you.
Thank you, Felicity. And then I guess I'll go ahead and pass it over to you.
Yes, thank you. Yeah. Good morning, everyone. So we are with ICF hosting a fraud, waste, and abuse training coming up on September 27th. Ann Schmidt is going to drop the link into the chat to register for that event. It's going to be a Teams meeting or Teams webinar. And we are going to require that all CDBG grantees either attend or certify that they have watched the posted recording if you're unable to attend. We've provided a couple of save the dates for this, but we know that it's a little bit of short notice if you didn't know about it already. So please do plan on attending if that time works for you. Otherwise, do plan to watch the recording as soon as we get that out and available to you. This is an important training for us to provide to you because the Office of the Inspector General especially monitors our emergency funding like the CARES Act dollars and want to make sure that we as HCD and all of our grantees all have the knowledge that's needed to avoid fraud, waste, and abuse with federal dollars. So please do make that a priority. And now, without further ado, let me just make sure Ben hasn't been able to join. Okay, I would like to introduce Mike Molina, who is the fire chief from the City of Firebaugh. Looks like Ben Gallegos was planning to join, but I think he was out ill, so he's not. He was the city manager, and he prepared this PowerPoint. But we're very excited to have Mike Molina, who's the boots on the ground fire chief from the city, to tell us a little bit about the new fire station in the City of Firebaugh, built with CDBG dollars. Mike, I'll pass it over to you.
Hello, and thank you for having me. Just a little background on myself. I've been on the fire department. I started back in high school, junior high school, right about 94, 95. So 20 plus years, been on the volunteer fire department. Came up through the ranks, engineer, battalion chief, assistant chief, and now the acting fire chief. And just being able to see this department grow from way back then to where, I mean, we only had 3 trucks, very older model, and moving into modernization. our old fire department was very old and outdated, and we pretty much grew out of it here about 10, 15 years ago. We really had no training facilities, so it was in a small office space, or we would move one of the trucks out and just kind of just sitting there, and heat and air conditioning were very minimal, and it just wasn't working for us. Ben came to us and said, I think I can make this work, and it happened. I mean, we've got a beautiful fire station for a little over $4 million, and I mean, we've had people come in talking about, I want a tour. Can I get a tour? Can we look around? I mean, and that's been a big thing for us. I mean, because it's basically a new toy for us. And yes, and as you can see, the design and construction was off of a design at a Fresno County station, which is 8 miles south of us. It'll be Company 96 in Mendota. So it's somewhat of a duplicate, but just on a little bigger size. The new station is able to accommodate all of our apparatus that we have. So we've got all the bays filled, except one, which is it's a Chiefs truck, so it's in and out. But all of our stuff is inside, out of the weather. I mean, it's able to, with the modernization, we're able to keep the batteries charged, the air built up in the tanks. I mean, so it's a huge upgrade for us. The training facilities in there are second to none. We're able to sit in there. I mean, in the middle of summer now, we're able to, I mean, it's not central heating and air, but there's air moving through there. I mean, we've got heating there also, and we're able to accommodate the whole department for something like that. Just walking into it is every time I walk in there, which is daily, and it's just like, wow, this is ours. It belongs to us. I mean, it's pretty awesome. It's got the feel for the rest of the department as a home now. You know, it's more it makes you feel more family oriented, to where we can, you know, send a text out, hey, I'm going down to the department, and people will just show up, and we can just sit there and, you know, sit in the living quarters and talk and watch TV and do what we got to do. Our response time has cut down quite a bit now that we're able to do our sleeper programs, which we can accommodate up to five members of the department in our sleeping quarters, which has 5 Murphy beds and a couple of closets in there. We have there's 3 restrooms there, and all restrooms are ADA compliant, and they all have showers, in which we actually have a restroom out in our bay, and able to, you know, say for instance, we come from a big structure fire or something, we're able to shower there before we go in, and not try to take all the bad stuff into the department with us, into the living quarters. There's a shower there. We have a state-of-the-art washing machine, which is called an extractor, that turns at about 10,000 RPMs, so that when we do come back from these bigger calls, we can throw our stuff in there, let it run. It's about a 30 to 40 minute run cycle, and it'll extract all the carcinogens and all the bad stuff that they're talking about now. And we're able to do that within, you know, have clean gear within an hour and a half or so, since we have our dryers and stuff in there, which once we first moved in there, everybody was washing their equipment, which we had an old washing machine here, which was a house washing machine. And I mean, the gear that came out of there didn't look like it was ever washed, really. So we stuck it in we put in this new washing machine, and it was, I mean, like brand new. And then I was in awe after I did my gear. So everybody ran their gear in, and I mean, everybody's been pretty much like a kid in the candy store walking through that station, still now to the day. And it's a huge benefit to this city. Like I've said, we're able to accommodate. I mean, the schools now want to take tours of it. excuse me, we've got the high school just came and trying to get some of these kids to, to look into as public safety as a career, and to show them this, to be able to show them our department is pretty much what they're going to do. I mean, say if they do get a job with Fresno City or any other bigger city, that this is what they can look forward to, is a department somewhat similar. I mean, a station somewhat similar to this. It's an awesome feeling to know that this belongs to the city of Fireball, and I know there was a lot of boots on the ground, and everybody's been everybody that was behind the scenes on this. I mean, we thank you. We can't thank you enough. This has been good for the city of Fireball.
Thank you so much, Mike. It's really great to hear from someone who's using the fire station and making sure that the residents of Fireball are safe, and really being able to take advantage of this resource. So thank you so much for being with us today. And we did get a question from the audience. They wondered if you were in this picture.
Yeah, so I'm in that picture. I'm the one with the sunglasses on next to Brian Pacheco and Senator Caballero. That's myself there.
Wonderful. Well,
Yes,
thank you so much for being here.
Yes, thank you.
Did we have any other questions for Mike, or any other comments?
So just to add to that picture, so Ben's on the far left. That's our city manager. Then the guy that's holding the ribbon at the corner on my left that's Jim Britton. He's our battalion chief, and then it's Brian Pacheco, myself, Ana Caballero. Our mayor is right next to her, and then that's Esmeralda Soria, and then it's our newly hired battalion chief, which we've never had that in the city of Fireball. So he's an actual paid city employee that works out of there. He's out 40 hours a week, if not more. So I do the public works side, and I am the fire chief. So he's down there from 7 in the morning to 3:30 in the afternoon, which is huge for us as far as the city, since we've never had something like that here. And our department's back in the background, which we have a cadet program that we focus on high school kids, trying to get them through the program, keep them out of trouble, and maybe this is something they want to get into. So it usually starts about 15, 16-year-olds, and then we go up to, I mean, we have some old members that are still around. They don't attend very many calls, but they do stick around. It's 60 years old, maybe a little bit older, but our main group of firefighters now is right about the 21 to 30-year-old age. So it's good to see all the young faces out there and them wanting to serve the community.
That's amazing.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being here and for telling us about the impact of the CDBG dollars. And I will go to I wanted to go back to the partnership slide. It takes a big team to do a project like this. So I was just going to give a shout out to the team, the city manager, the fire chief, CDBG funds, Adams Ashby Group, and Ardent General Contractor, and Integrated Designs was the architect. So thanks so much for presenting. And if any other grantee would like to similarly be a guest on our office hours, we welcome that. We have a template PowerPoint that we can mock up for you and make it pretty easy to present. So please feel free to share if you have a project that you would like to present on. That's my little plug.
Yes.
All right.
And if I could just add I know I was kind of talking fast and was going everywhere, but just want to add, our service area is not just for the city of Fireball. We do have a contract with Fresno County Fire and Madera County Fire. So we cover probably about 200 square miles in Fresno County and Madera County. So this just doesn't benefit the city of Fireball. It benefits our surrounding cities and counties. So it's definitely a big impact for, I would say, the west side. It benefits all the west side.
That's great. And I know that's an area that needs resources. So we're glad these dollars were able to help.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Mike Phillips, I'll kick it over to you for a Q&A recap.
Thank you, Felicity. All right. Our first question is on over-the-counter grants. The question was, our small city is building a regional cultural visitor center for the purpose of economic development and revitalization. The cost is approximately $5 million. I've been told it needs to be an OTC grant request and done in January 2024. Is that correct? And the answer to this was yes, that is correct. The 2023 NOFA is for the waitlisted applications. In 2024, we will open up to new applications, both OTC and competitive. Then we had another question on over-the-counter grants. The question was, for those who are currently or have finished planning grants for public works, how will the OTC grants be handled if a jurisdiction applies for implementation funds but hasn't been awarded because the application has never been submitted in time based on the first come, first served basis, and the jurisdiction is in jeopardy for returning funds because implementation has begun within 5 years of planning? The answer to this was hopefully grantees finishing a planning grant means you'll be ready to apply in 2024. HCD will not be able to treat any application differently if they are a planning grant, as they are still first come, first served. If you don't get to apply in time before the funding cutoff, you will need to apply for the next coming NOFA. HCD does not currently give preference or extra time to grantees who have completed CDBG funded planning grants for implementation. Furthermore, HCD is seeking some guidance from HUD on what the minimum requirement is for meeting a national objective for planning grants. More on this soon. This question was also on over-the-counter grants. The question was, as a beginner, I need to understand OTC versus competitive. Can you please help? Also, what is the waitlist process starting in September? And the answer to this was, OTC stands for over-the-counter, which is first come, first served. The competitive process is a scoring and ranking application process. Please note that we are no longer going to have a waitlist in the future. In the September 2023 NOFA, we are going to fully fund applications that were on the 19 and 20 waitlist, and then we will no longer have a waitlist. We will no longer be having the waitlist, so you will no longer hear that terminology moving forward, as the process will move to a first come, first served system. Once funds are exhausted and on accepted applications under the current NOFA cycle, you will need to reapply in the next NOFA cycle if you do not receive funding. And this next question was also on over-the-counter. The question was, is there a maximum amount for OTC application submission and grant amounts? This is for the 2024 NOFA in January. The answer to this is yes, we are likely going to use the same limits as originally proposed for the 2023 NOFA, for which the maximum is $3.5 million per project and per jurisdiction. We plan to have a listening session sometime in October, so we will solicit feedback before publishing the January 2024 NOFA.
Michael, can I make a correction? My apologies
Yes.
to the slide. So the limits, since we had the listening session, that was 3.25 million.
Okay, 3.25.
Yes.
Yep. Thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
Then our next question is on over-the-counter grants. The question was, I think that the issue is that the OTC funding is going within minutes when the application period opens. It could be possible to get funding based on the first come. It could be impossible to get funding based on the first come, first serve. And the answer to this was, thank you for this comment. We are taking this into consideration. Since the application is not going to be opened for you to be able to review, we are working on a system to enable us to share the questions that will be included in the application so that you can have a better idea and prepare. We recommend that all cities and counties interested in submitting an application Make sure that they are signed up on our email list and come to office hours regularly and stay engaged with your HCD representative so that you are in the know for all the new announcements. This next question is on planning activity grants. The question was, in follow-up in the 5th year of application for implementation for OTC and the jurisdiction still hasn't submitted on time for the funding and first come, first serve, the jurisdiction will have to refund the planning grant? And the answer to this was, so whether physical construction must result from the plan produced from a planning grant depends on the originally intended national objective and what the planning grant was used for. If a planning grant was used for an activity that was truly pre-development and not planning, so for example, architectural and engineering design plans, then a project must be completed to fulfill a national objective, and the timeline HCD wants to see is 5 years from the date of plan completion. If a planning grant was used for an activity that was truly a planning activity, such as a feasibility study, specific plan, area plan, etc., then it is possible for that a national objective was met just by completing the plan. Generally, this is the case only when the national objective being met is LMA or in some cases LMC. We are working to streamline a clear process of reporting and additional guidance that offers more clarity for planning grants, so expectations are clear at the time that they are awarded. At this time, if you have questions about your particular planning grant, please reach out to your CDBG representative. We will discuss your particular situation. Okay, this next question is on economic development and revitalization. The question was, our project is a combination of economic development and revitalization, but also a portion is simply moving city offices. Can we not turn to CDBG for the latter? And the answer to this was, costs associated with the general operations of government are prohibited from reimbursement through CDBG funding. It is unlikely that CDBG funds can pay for the cost of moving city offices. However, you are welcome to reach out to your HCD rep to receive specific guidance as to whether this would be an eligible cost. This next question is on the status of the Grants Management Manual chapters, tools, and appendices. The question was, is there an ETA for Chapter 6 and Chapter 10 of the HCD Grants Management Manual? Also, are the tools and appendices up to date? And the answer to this was, we just met with our team recently, and both of these chapters are going through the state's accessibility and compliance team. So Appendix E should be out very shortly, Chapter 10 soon after that, and Chapter 6 will be available in a few weeks. The tools are up to date, and we are continuing to add tools as we finalize them. If you notice any formatting errors or typos, please let us know, and we will get them corrected. This next question was on application readiness. The question was, please provide general advice in the coming 4 months. For example, working with our CDBG regional representative for being ready for applying for new projects at January, and for example, new running shoes on the starting line. And the answer to this was, in October, HCD is hosting a listening session, and attending is the first best step. If you are registered for office hours and the newsletter, you will receive an invite. Also contact your rep for additional information. Okay, this question is on Section 3. Regarding Section 3 qualitative efforts, the HUD portal for Section 3 is going away, which is where we typically have contractors go and register to ensure we are meeting the qualitative efforts. How do you ensure meeting requirements when a contractor states they aren't making any new hires? And we can't have them at least register on this portal now. Any thoughts or real world examples? The answer to this was, HUD is closing the SPEAR system, which is the portal used to track Section 3 reporting, back when the old rule followed new hires. because the new Section 3 rule is no longer tied to the number of new hires, that data is no longer relevant in the reporting for Section 3 compliance. Now we must report the total number of labor hours, the number of Section 3 worker labor hours, and the targeted Section 3 labor hours. We also check to see if businesses are Section 3 businesses. In April, HCD and ICF conducted training and reviewed all the new reporting requirements. We also have the Grants Management Manual appendices. Appendix 5.1 is a Section 3 worker self-certification, and Appendix 5.2 is a Section 3 business self-certification. These types of forms should be filled out at procurement to document whether your workers are Section 3. We also recently shared a tool, Appendix 5.11, that is Section 3 tracking form to help at the local level to track hours throughout the project. The qualitative efforts are required to be tracked if you don't meet the benchmarks. You can't just skip the hours reporting. You must report the total labor hours on a construction project and the breakdown of Section 3 and targeted Section 3 workers. If you don't meet the 25% Section 3 and the 5% targeted Section 3 benchmarks, then you would need to complete a qualitative effort. This is just a list of a variety of things that local communities can do to expand and enhance economic opportunities for local low moderate income workers. All Section 3 compliance now will be collected at grant closeout. Part of the closeout packet will ask for these total labor hours, your breakdown of Section 3 and targeted Section 3 workers, and your qualitative efforts. Grantees don't need the HUD portal for any of this, and businesses would just need to fill out Appendix 5.2, business certification, for recording that documentation. There are many resources available on the HCD website and shared and linked in the HCD newsletter. Okay, and our last question of the recap is also on Section 3. The question was, small rural community contractors do not have Section 3 workers as they are working on prevailing wage jobs. Therefore, they all need to do qualitative efforts. The answer to this was, yes, this is true under the new Section 3 rule. If you reference the closeout packet and the training, it's titled Section 3 Qualitative Efforts Description. We will soon add this as a separate tool for the GMM because the qualitative efforts are something grantees should be working on ongoing, so you don't have to scramble at the end to complete your closeout packet. In the meantime, you can request a copy from your grant administrator or CDBG representative. For clarification, there are Section 3 workers and targeted Section 3 worker benchmarks to meet. If you don't meet those Section 3 workers, if you don't meet those benchmarks, the grantee, the actual recipient of the CDBG funds, needs to certify that at least one qualitative effort has been made. This does not have to be on a per project contractor or subcontractor basis, and it does not have to be the sole responsibility of the general contractor. These actions can be taken at the jurisdiction level or through the entity coordinating with the jurisdiction. We understand this is a difficult rule to comply with in rural communities. Therefore, we recommend you find the item on the form that best serves the needs of your community. Your community may already be doing something at the community level, and the level requirement under Section 3 is that the jurisdiction affirms the qualitative effort. Okay, that was it for our Q&A recap. So let's get into our live Q&A. See, our first question is from Murray. Murray asks, if my project's dollar size is more than the OTC limit, do I have to have the remainder of the funds already secured before I even apply for OTC grant?
Hi, Murray. Thank you for the question. Yes, at application, your project needs to be shovel ready within 90 days. So that means that at application, if to be feasible, your project requires other dollars besides CDBG, then those must already be secured.
Thank you, Felicity. Let's see. Our next question is from Lori. For the 2024 NOFA, we are going to have PI to put into the project. Will this be included in the application, or will a separate PI application be required?
Mamie, correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is that if you are including PI in a project that's applying under the 2024 NOFA, you will include that PI in your budget, and we will have a budget training and instructions on where in your budget that money should be included, but it does not need to be concluded by a separate PI application. It will all be included in that in the 2024 application for that particular project. And it'll be incorporated into your standard agreement amount.
You're correct, Felicity.
Okay.
You don't need a standalone application if it's going to be included with grant funds.
Thanks.
So the next question is from Paul. If we have a PI only application close to being submitted, do we need to try to get that completed prior to the new 2023 NOFA being issued this month? As I think you said, we will have to do it in the new application at that point. And if so, do you have a firm date yet on when that will be issued?
Mamie, do you want to take that? I'm not sure what this planning is for when the new 2023 PI application will be released.
I don't have all the, because we're still working out the kinks on the application, because I think Jeannie and I, we were kind of throwing around keeping, instead of redoing a PI application over every single year, just doing a general PI only application platform. So I'm not sure if we kind of thought that all the way through just yet, because we are focusing, we're focusing on the current NOFA and grants right now. But just to let you know, Paul, that thought process for us to have a general PI only application that stays open and not close every single NOFA year, that won't go into effect, just to kind of give you the heads up for the 2023. But we are trying to push and work for that for the 2024 NOFA. So if you're ready to submit a PI only application at this moment, I would say go ahead and do it in the once we drop the NOFA for the 2023, which we don't have an exact date of when we're going to drop it. We know that it's going to be dropped in September, but we don't have a physical actual date of this month that we're going to drop it. So Paul, we'll work with you if you're interested in doing a PI only application, and we'll see if you're ready to go now or if you can wait.
Thanks, Mamie.
Our next question is from William. How many OTC applications can be submitted for the January 2024 NOFA?
Hi, William. So we are proposing to you have the same limits in place as we had originally proposed for what the 2023 NOFA would be, and that was one OTC application per jurisdiction, and potentially a total of 2 applications per jurisdiction that would include 1 competitive and 1 OTC. So that's what we will propose to you as grantees, and we will bring that to an October listening session to get your feedback. The reason for proposing a single application per jurisdiction is that we only have a limited amount of dollars. It's approximately $48 million for this upcoming NOFA. And so to ensure that we are not processing numerous applications, reviewing numerous applications that we won't be able to fund, we are asking jurisdictions to set those priorities for yourselves so you have a higher likelihood of being funded. It should save you time and it will save us time, and that should be able to allow standard agreements to get out more quickly, and also allow more jurisdictions to come in who maybe haven't had a turn at getting CDBG funding in a while. So there's multiple reasons for limiting it to a single OTC application per year, and those are some of them.
Thank you, Felicity. So our next question is from Luis. The question was, with the first come, first served OTC process, applicants will be faced with deciding whether to carefully proofread the application before submitting or risk losing out to other faster submitting applicants. Will HCD allow for corrections to OTC applications after submission?
I can chime in on that. So we do allow for corrections, but what happens is that you are no longer in that same place that the original submission was. So if there is some corrections that needs to be done, then you can make those corrections, but once you resubmit, that will be your new spot on the OTC.
And I'll just add to that, Louise, that we are anticipating making making like a readable version of the application available as soon when we release the NOFA. So that's 30 days prior to opening the application up. So you should know all of the questions being asked and all of the documentation that will be required for upload at the release of the NOFA. So you should have time to gather that information, prepare narrative responses, and then when the application portal opens, you will be copying and pasting documents into the application form. So that's our intent, and we are working towards that. So that should give you time to thoughtfully prepare application narratives without a time crunch.
Thank you, Felicity.
Our next question is from Lori, or actually comment. So in section 3, it's important to ensure that you are taking action for the qualitative efforts as it is historically difficult to meet the hour requirements. You are not able to do qualitative efforts at the end of a project, FYI. Thank you for sharing that, Lori.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, next question is from Lori. Can the PI in a project exceed the maximum amount in the NOFA, or does the PI and grant funds need to be at the maximum project total?
Thanks for the question, Lori. The maximum amount is the amount of grant funds that you can apply for. The PI can be in excess of the total maximum award amount. So if the total maximum award amount for an OTC project remains at 3.25 million, that's just grant funds. Any PI that you bring to the project is over and above that.
Great. Thank you, Felicity. So that looks like all the questions that we have in the queue for now. Should go ahead and give folks another couple minutes to get any last minute questions. Lori asked how our holiday weekend was. Mine was very good and restful.
Mine too. Did cleaning.
So did I. Yeah.
Mine was busy. In LA seeing Beyonce, so very busy.
And I had a belated birthday party for my 6-year-old and 9-year-old. So we had a lot of cake and ice cream and running around.
Alrighty. So
I'm here, but since we have a moment, is anybody was anybody just super inspired by Mike Molina's presentation and they want to share something from their community? Because if you are, let us know and we'll get you on the agenda, because I was super pumped. Thanks for being here, Mike. That was inspiring and lovely to have you here.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. And Mike, it really motivates our team to see what we do on a day-to-day in physical form. So this is why we are pushing the encouragement of all the cities and counties to share what our CDBG funds are being used for, so we can, unfortunately, we can't go to every single location, but to be able to visually see with photos and, stories and how it's helping your community really inspires myself and my team. So thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank all of you guys for all, like I said, all all the legwork that was put into making this happen for us. I mean, everybody's welcome to come and take a tour. Just get a hold of City Hall, and you can get a hold of one of us, and we'll be glad to take you down there. It's awesome.
That's great. Next time I'm passing through, might
Yes.
have to drop by. We got some feedback from Janet Reese. She says Fireboss project looks fantastic. And Jim Robbins says, yes, thank you, Mike. It was great to hear about the project. So,
Yes.
oh,
Yeah.
and Siskiyou County says we would like to duplicate Mike's effort. Great.
Yeah,
Thanks
my
for all
email in
that
the
feedback.
chat. So if anybody would like to spotlight your project, just send me an email and we'll get you scheduled. Like Felicity said, we have a PowerPoint template, so hopefully it's not too burdensome on you. You just kind of fill it out and present on whatever you'd like to. We'd be happy to have you.
And I'll give us a shout out to Lori Brown, one of our CDBG reps. She went ahead and prepared this one for the city of Firebaugh. We worked on it together, and then she sent it over to Firebaugh, and they were happy with the way it turned out. So the burden on the grantee was pretty minimal. Just had to show up today. So so we can do that for you too, because it is exciting for us. Oh, the total. Somebody asked, what was the total cost of the fire station? It was around a little bit more than $4 million. I'll see if I can find that slide.
It's like 4.6, I thought. Oh, yeah, a little bit over 4.
Alrighty, that looks like it's all the questions that we have for today. So just thanks again to Mike Molina for being here and presenting on this project. I think to everyone for all your questions and comments and engagement. We really do appreciate it. And I think our next office hours will be on the 20th. Yeah. And look out for the fraud, waste, and abuse training on the 27th from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. And yeah, thanks everyone. Hope you had a great holiday weekend, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.